Well, hey there, everybody. Welcome to the Arrow After Show, coming to you from right here, the Stream.tv Fan Show Network, talking all things Arrow. My name is John Campea. I'm your host tonight, and I am joined, of course, as always, sitting on my left.
Hey, it's Ann Campea. I am ready to hood up, everybody. Let's talk about Arrow.
And sitting over here onto my right.
Hey, everyone. Coach K. I'm so excited to hood up with everyone.
And we've got a lot to cover because we have two shows we actually got to talk about. We got to talk, this week has been the 2-episode crossover between Arrow and The Flash. So we are going to talk about both episodes since they both have Arrow in it. But before we get to any of that stuff, let's talk about Laurel. No, I'm just kidding. As many of you will remember who watched the Arrow After Show, we had Stephen Amell in studio here with us a couple weeks ago, Oliver Queen himself. And I totally forgot last episode to let you guys know he was kind enough to sign some stuff for us that we have that we want to give away. No,
to us.
That we want to give away to you guys. First thing I'm going to mention here that we have two comic books. They're called Arrow Season 2.5. And these are, if you can tell, I don't know if we can get tighter on it, but yeah, there we go. They are signed. We had Stephen Amell autograph them. So we have two of these Arrow Season 2.5 issues that we want to give away. So we got two of those. We also have this terrific, I'm not going to open the whole thing. I'll just open it a bit. This looks very boring, but trust me, when it's opened the whole way, this is a very impressive poster. We have a big Arrow poster, also, again, as you can see right here, signed by Stephen Amell, that he's signed for us. And I like how he puts Stephen Amell, quote unquote, Arrow. Just in case you didn't realize. But the grand thing that we got here is a Blu-ray DVD set of Arrow Season 2, the complete season on Blu-ray and DVD right here. And once again, as you can see right here, Stephen autographed these for us. So that's what we have to give away. We want to give these away to you guys, the viewers of the Arrow After Show. And here is how you can get your grubby little vigilante-loving paws on them. We want you to tweet to @theStreamtv, so tweet to @theStreamtv, and tweet why the Arrow After Show is the best after show on television, the internet, anywhere you want to look. So tweet that in, then a couple of you will be selected, and you'll either get one of the comic books or the poster or the DVD if you are selected. So once again, tweet in to @theStreamtv, say why in 140 characters or less the Arrow After Show is the best after show anywhere on television and the internet, and a couple of you guys will be selected to receive these things. So congratulations to those of you who get them, and it's pretty cool prizes, right?
If I'm not mistaken, Ann Campea is less than 140 characers. So
just right.
The reason for the after
Ann
show.
Campea.
Yeah, no, I'm just kidding. But yeah, that's really cool.
All right, guys. Now, for those of you, there's another after show on the Stream.tv Fan Show Network for The Flash, and I'm sure for you guys who are into The Flash, you've watched that. I'm sure we're going to cover some of the ground here that they talked about the other night, but let's get into it. Let's just approach this as a 2-episode arc.
Oh, man.
Shoot.
It was great.
Yep.
It was everything I hoped it would be.
It was better than I hoped it would be.
It really was.
Yes.
Because I'm a little bit of a spoiler alert right here. We usually do our positives and then our negatives. I have no negatives to talk about. Not that they were perfect episodes of television, but nothing stood out to me at all about it. It got to highlight, look, I've really fallen in love with the Flash After Show, which is also great. But I've really fallen in love with the Flash.
Yeah.
It's a great show. Cisco is now, I know Ann and Cisco has become one of our favorite characters on television. Mm-hmm. He was annoying right at first. I did not think I was going to like this character right at first, but he instantly grew on me. They know how to write this guy. His lines are always funny. I always smile when he talks. He's great. So seeing that whole world incorporated in. But what really stood out to me about this crossover thing, do you remember a few weeks ago, I said what I think they're doing is I believe they're setting up their own story narrative universe here. And I believe that Arrow is going to be the Batman figure. Because, in the comics, like, Batman's the man, and everybody kind of looks up to him, and they kind of report to him, and everybody checks in on him, and when they need help, they go to him. I've always kind of felt like Oliver Queen was going to be the Batman of this universe. And I really felt watching these crossover episodes that that's the case. You know, that they're setting up that way, and I love it. I love the dynamic and the relationship between him and Barry, blah, blah. Anyway, those are my overall impressions. Corey, let's go over to you. Just your overall impressions about the last 2
everything?
Yeah, just the last couple episodes.
Look, I am with you because I was trying so hard to find a negative, and I found one, but it's being super, super, super duper nitpicky. That's something I could overlook. But overall, oh my gosh, this crossover was so good. It was dazzling. It was way better than I expected. I have to say, between the two, I did prefer the Flash episode.
Part one, let's call it part one.
Yeah.
Part one, in this particular thing. Positives, there's just so many, but I'm going to talk about Arrow because that's why we're here. I love that Oliver Queen got to chuckle. He got to smile. Usually he's a little more dark, but Barry Allen brought out, you know, a more lighthearted Oliver Queen. It was refreshing to see them at the last scene going into battle, obviously not knowing who's going to win. I think I know who's going to win, but you know.
But can I comment on that for a second? Arrow did win the first fight.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't, like when Cisco goes, I guess it's a tie. What tie?
No, it wasn't.
He drove a spear through his leg, blocked his punch, and was about to choke him out. There was no tie. He won.
Yeah.
He won the first fight. At any rate, sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. I mean, and I'm not a romantic, but I loved every romantic moment of it. I loved Diggle proposing to Lyla. I loved, like, you know, the parallel of how both Oliver and Barry Allen are, you know, kind of in love with these two women that they can never have, and they talk about this is not our role, you know, and the dynamics between the two, it's awesome. I just loved everything. Even the villain, he wasn't quite a throwaway. He was actually kind of scary, you know. I was kind of freaked out.
Which
by
one?
him.
There were two villains.
The Arrow one.
Captain Boomerang.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just everything dazzled me.
And your overall impressions.
Can we please have more Flaro? Can we make
Yes.
Flaro a thing like every week? Just merge the two shows.
I feel like twice a season for
Yes.
both shows. I feel like now I seriously feel like they need to do this because apparently the cities are not far apart. Flash can be there in 5 minutes if he needs to
Right.
be. I mean, yeah, it feels like they need to do this at least twice a season.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. Everything Kaori said, I'm also in agreement with. I actually like this episode a little bit better than the Flash episode. Maybe it's I'm partially drawn to the fact that it is Arrow and we are Arrow after show, but I did like it. I like that story progressed in this. It continues to progress. That we saw Captain Boomerang, who I think is the most formidable villain we've seen so far this season.
Right.
He's been the scariest. I mean, aside from having Merlin back in town, but we know that Merlin's not there for anything evil yet. And we've only seen a glimpse of Ra's al Ghul. So Captain Boomerang to me has been kind
Well, he
of
walked
that
into the room and
guy.
took out, what, 12 Argus agents?
Oh, yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that? Yeah.
Yeah. Anyone catch the title of the episode, though? The Brave and the Bold.
Yes.
So the reference, obviously, for those that read the comics, this series, you know, is just about team-ups. And so the fact that we have Barry now visiting Starling City and just the reference in the title to see this team-up that everybody's been waiting for and we're all excited about, obviously, that was really cool. And I just like seeing Lyla and Diggle kind of in the spotlight in this episode. I don't think we see enough of them, and I don't think we see enough of Diggle just being human, you know, being able to be around his family and then having that heart. Like you said, the proposal was really sweet.
It was.
And it really gave us, you know, just the lightheartedness that we needed in such a dark episode that I felt like it was. So I thought that was cool. And I also liked that Barry was talking some sense into Oliver. And so it wasn't just Oliver trying to preach to Barry in Central City, this is how you have to do it, you have to practice, you have to train. But it's also Oliver learning from Barry that, yes, there is some humanity left in him. And Barry, it felt like Barry was the right person to talk to him and to really convince him about that.
I love the line. Once again, the alluding to Batman sort of thing, that he's the Batman figure. They make him a lot like Bruce Wayne and Batman in the show. And they should. That's a good move on their part. But one of the things in their exchange, he goes, well, what can I say, Barry? I guess I'm not as emotionally healthy as you. I thought that's an awesome line. That worked so well in that context.
Yeah. And he might actually convince Oliver, you know, that he should start stepping up as not only Arrow, but as Oliver Queen. Because we've been kind of waiting for him to see what is the next step. We've seen Arrow, like, kick ass or whatever. But what is the next step for Oliver Queen as a person? Is he going to get a job? Is he going to, you know, run for mayor?
Can we
like, what's
mention
going on?
that his baby mama he ran into?
Yeah, which is one of the strongest things the writers of the show have always done from the beginning. Plant a seed and they feel no rush to get to it. They're fine to just let it sit and culture and grow, and they'll come back whenever they damn well feel like. And now, because they dropped the hints about there's a baby out there last season, boom, and now they're reminding us, don't forget, we've got this little thread that we're going to pull on at some point.
I know. Now it feels like, I don't know if you guys do this, but like in every episode of Flash, I'm like, there's a kid in the background. That's Oliver's son. Is that Oliver's son? No. But yeah, I love it. I love that they keep drawing to, you know, like the fact that Oliver was in the Russian mob, you know, that he just cut the ties. They don't forget the stuff. They do really good job of not forgetting that stuff. The humor in both episodes was really good. I was laughing a lot. And like you said, Corey, in this episode especially, where everything's so super serious, it's nice to have the Central City people come in and just kind of shed some light into that.
It's nice because you've got in both of the shows, in Flash and in Arrow, you know, we've got Felicity in Arrow, which is, she brings the humor and the levity and just the heart warmth and stuff like that with her comments. Usually it's sexual innuendo jokes, granted, but that's what makes them funny. But then it's funny because you'd think her counterpart on Flash would be the English girl, who's the character, her name eludes me right now. Caitlin. But she's not Felicity's counterpart. Cisco is actually her counterpart, really. And it was really cool having both of them. You're right, the humor in it worked so well. It was such a, bringing out the darkest part of Oliver, which I liked, with the lightest part of the two shows at the same time. You know, you run the risk when you do crossovers like this, you fear that one show may overshadow the other. And while Oliver Queen is clearly the man, right? It was really nice crossover because I felt like it elevated just everybody. I felt like the crossover elevated all the characters on both shows. And it just makes me excited for what you were saying. We need more. I refuse to call it Flaro. I'm not going to call it. We were talking about that. I said, I don't know. It sounds like
maybe one day.
No, never going to call it Flaro, ever. But yeah, anyway, lots of other great stuff about this episode too. We get to see, you know, the powers being shown off. I love the showdown and fight. I was really hoping they would fight again, that we get to see in the second one, because I just want to see Oliver kick Barry's ass again. It's like, look, kid, couple of years, because of your powers, you're going to be able to wipe the floor with everybody. But right now, you're my bitch. And I just want to see more of that. I wanted to see that happen. So, interesting thing about this episode that Ann was pointing out. So actually, somebody tweeted to us and pointed this out. You know, yesterday, you know, my main thing is movies, obviously. But yesterday, DC and Warner Brothers announced the cast of the Suicide Squad movie. And the guy playing Captain Boomerang in the movie version is going to be Jai Courtney, which means you have a guy playing Captain Boomerang in the movies and a guy playing Captain Boomerang in the TV show that are both Spartacus alum. What is it with Mark Guggenheim and Spartacus? Because, like, for those of you who missed it last time, Stephen Amell was going to play Spartacus. He was like this close to getting the role of Spartacus. It was him and one other guy, and it went to the other guy. Like, Stephen thought he had the role. Obviously, we got Manu Bennett, who played Deathstroke. He was Crixus in Spartacus. Now we got a couple of more Spartacus alumni.
Was it Nissa? And,
oh yeah,
Nissa
the girl who plays
Katrina
Nissa
Law.
was also in Spartacus. I mean, so I like that. I like that a lot. I like that because Spartacus is like my number 2 or number 3 all-time favorite television show. So it's really cool seeing them bringing in those players into that. So that's a pretty cool
And
thing.
speaking of Spartacus going to Manu Bennett, and the mention of Slade Wilson a couple times, he's coming back.
So clearly he's still alive, but that raises a question. In it, she goes, I had to send in the Suicide Squad, but there was complications. And what was the word she used? We had to
sanitize.
They had to say, okay, so she had to kill them. She set off the bombs in their heads. Bronze Tiger?
Deadshot?
Deadshot? They all dead now? That's the assumption, right? Like, it felt like they were saying that Suicide Squad's dead now. Like, and only Captain Boomerang was left. Like, wasn't that what they were implying?
I don't believe they're all gone.
But whether they're really all gone, but the question, first of all, that is what they were implying, right? That she killed the Suicide Squad, wasn't it? Yeah. At least she believes she killed the Suicide Squad.
She made the attempt to kill them. is what they're saying.
Now, if Captain Boomerang survived it, what's to say that other members of the
Right.
Suicide
Yes.
Squad did not also survive it? But I believe the implication right now is that group assumes that that team they're dead,
Yeah.
they're gone, which is kind of like without fanfare or anything. It's like, really? You
Well,
just
and then does Lyla continue to have this giant target on her head now that this team knows that she was trying to kill
if
them?
they're still alive?
If they're still alive? And then Captain Boomerang being in the cell now right next to Buddy
Yeah.
Deathstroke, you know, like what's going to happen with that?
I'm so glad they made the reference to Deathstroke because I want to
Yeah.
see more Slade Wilson. I want to see Manu Bennett back in the show.
Yeah.
Because from now on, wherever they go with the show, even with Al-Ghul, wherever they go with the show, Oliver Queen's arch nemesis is Deathstroke.
I agree with
And
you.
it always will be that now. And so at some point, maybe not this season, maybe not even next season, but I feel like at some point they need to loop back around it. I feel like they still have a lot of unfinished business. So anyway, that's just my thing. What are some other things that stood out to you guys about this episode?
I
Some
love
favorite
the
moments?
Red Arrow fighting against Captain Boomerang. I like the choreography there. I just love the choreography
All the
in every
fight
episode.
scenes.
Yeah.
All the fight scenes were solid. I think Roy did really well. You know, I love Roy anyway, but I just think he's really coming into his own as part of the team. You know, like it's obvious that he's not the most talented, but he's getting more skillful.
You know what the problem was? You know why he got his butt kicked? There were no cars for him to do jumping flips off of. If
Parkour.
only there was a parked car that he could do a jumping flip off of, then everything would have been fine. He would have been just
I
fine.
noticed that he always kind of messes up, which is
He does,
it
right?
shows
Yeah.
that he's not perfect, which is kind
Exactly.
of nice. You know what I mean?
And the character still doesn't speak a lot, which I think is a really wise. Now let's face it. No, look, like I told Steven, you know, the Roy character's been growing on me more because I used to really not like the Roy character, but I think what the writers are doing with Roy is smart. I think they realized a lot of people didn't like Roy, and so what are they doing? They're
Roy.
pretty much keeping his mouth shut and letting us slowly accept him and slowly just get used to him without him being forefront and everything like that. And I think that's a good thing. And you're right. Now he's in like episodes like these ones, and it feels like he has a small one, but a role to play.
But
And he
it-
plays it right.
For me, it helps out a lot that he's not dating Thea anymore.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You know?
Which once again takes him out of the spotlight a bit.
Right.
And because that was it would have been difficult to reform people's opinions of him if you kept him right in everybody's face. And of course, I would be remiss if I did not mention one of my favorite things about these two episodes of the Flash and Arrow crossover. Basically, no Laurel Lance, which is the pox on this show. I refer to it, for those of you who know, there's a coming 3-episode arc where they're just going to focus on her becoming Canary. I refer to that as the Laurel Apocalypse. That's when Arrow jumps the shark, and I probably give up on the show after that. It is the Laurel Apocalypse. But that's all I'm going to say about it is that obviously I was very happy that she had one useless scene in it and was gone. It's like, yay, we can focus on the characters that are actually fun. And did you notice that too? Like not this isn't a Laurel thing though, but both shows, they use the show to bring in who are the real players in this show. In Flash, you had Cisco and what was her name? again?
Caitlin.
Cisco, Caitlin, a little bit of the Doc in the Flash episode, and on Arrow's side, you had Arrow, Felicity, Wiggle, and Roy.
Wiggle.
Did I call him Wiggle? Sorry, Diggle.
I was like, let's go for this.
Wiggle, wiggle,
wiggle.
wiggle.
All right.
Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Anyway, so I really that they focused on the people who were important, and I thought that was really good because there's several other characters on both shows that they could have used screen time on, but instead they said, no, we know what the core competencies of both of these shows are. We're just going to elevate these, and I thought that was really cool.
I want to mention real quick also, because you reminded me, Diggle and his impression of Barry Allen
In the Flash
in
episode
the Flash
was
was
great.
Oh my God.
hilarious.
Yes.
That was these are like. What
like
was some,
5
he had
minutes.
some great lines too. when-
Great line.
Like when he saw how fast, but that was great because that's exactly, look, you can tell me, John, I know this guy is super fast, okay, but if you actually bring me out onto Broadway and a guy in a streak of light, and gone, my jaw's gonna hit the floor. It doesn't matter how much you tell me about it. So I really like the fact that they did that.
And I also want to talk about the ending where they both exchange gifts, which I thought was cool.
Yes.
Which also kind of means there should be another Flaro.
Fire episode. Hey, listen, before we got just a couple more things to mention. I'll mention you guys. Hey, if you got some comments or questions, tweet them into us.
Yeah.
You've seen the whole show. This hashtag right here. Just tweet using this hashtag #ArrowAfterShow, and we'll get to those in just a second. My one maybe negative. I've been trying to think about what would I say is negative. Once again, people in these TV shows, anybody with a gun, they cannot shoot. Nobody with a gun can shoot
Lyla.
or shoot worth shit. It doesn't matter if it's Lyla.
Being
It
an
doesn't matter if
Argus
it's all
agent.
these Argus snipers shooting at Captain Boomerang, who's just standing out in the open, throwing boomerangs.
I know.
Shoot me! And nobody can hit him. Nobody. They're all stormtroopers.
My number one, I have a few negatives, but that's one of them, is Argus security continues to be so weak that people can just walk right in with a fake badge.
I was gonna say, like, wait a minute, are you telling me Argus? Their security is a watchman at the front
Yes.
door.
Yeah, right.
That's security at Argus. Really?
Yeah, I have that written right here. Argus security. Smoke bomb means that a fight scene is over. Like twice that happened in this episode.
I try to explain
Smoke
to Ann,
bomb,
because
done.
they're having the fight, and then so Captain Boomerang just drops a smoke bomb, and Ann's like, wait, because he dropped a smoke bomb, no one's going to chase after him. The Flash is here.
I
said,
know.
honey, that's the rules. You drop a smoke bomb, it's no chasies.
It's true,
I
it's
think
like
that's
that.
the technical word.
Unseen.
No chasies.
No
Unseen. No chasies. I dropped a smoke bomb, you can't chase me.
Yeah, then Lyla shooting like 50 bullets and
Well, he's just standing there throwing boomerangs.
Why? I know, nitpicky stuff, but I'm just like, I can't. And then I think lastly for a negative is just, it was a really cute reason for Caitlin and Cisco to show up. But I mean, and they highlighted the fact that, oh, she could have sent the DNA or whatever it's Felicity needed tested in
Cisco's
the mail.
like, we want to see the Arrow Cave. Like,
But it
that
was a little bit of a weak reason for them to show up. But I love that they were there. I'm not going to
Yeah.
say that, you know.
All right, well, while Corey's going to mention, why don't you look up what we've got in our Twitter stream, and what were you about to say?
Oh, my negative, and it's really super nitpicky and something that I can totally just forget, is when Barry goes to get sushi super fast. He's in his outfit and he has his
Hood
face
off,
revealed.
Right.
So I'm thinking, so he went as the Flash with his face revealed to get sushi, and he comes back, and then Lyla discovers it's him.
Or
and
did
just-
he steal the sushi?
He better not steal
Is
sushi.
he a thief? Is he a thief now? I'm not saying. I'm just saying. All right. What are some of these guys asking in the Twitter stream and saying in the Twitter stream?
Well, Felicity Lover 21 is saying maybe there was more than one Suicide Squad, and that was my first assumption, right? When we were talking about in the ride over here, was that maybe she was referencing another Suicide
See,
Squad?
that's a possibility, but it always sounds to me like they're talking very singularly. Like they even, what does she refer to it? Team something something X.
Team Amazing? No.
Yeah, Team Amazing X.
A Task Force X.
Task Force X. Like they've always spoken of it in a very singular fashion. So it's certainly possible that there were multiple Suicide Squads, but it didn't sound like it to me. That's just my thought.
All right.
Okay.
Let's see. Tron3712 asks, do you think there will be an Aeromobile?
No.
No.
It was so funny, though.
I'm more
That
like,
was funny line. That was a really funny
prefer
line.
the motorcycle.
Yeah, he's on the motorcycle. He's gonna stay on the motorcycle, I think. They've got that one dark van that Diggle drives around in. That's more like an A-team van. than-
He needs a mask. Let's get Diggle a mask before they get a mobile.
I agree.
And
Come
again,
on. Cisco, make him a
Arsenal
mask.
and Arrow show up to the scene, and then in comes walking Diggle. Hey, everybody, I'm Diggle. You know, it's just like no mask, no nothing. Okay. Oh, and I gotta mention this too. In the Flash episode, when what's the doctor's name in the wheelchair? I keep forgetting. his name.
Dr. Wells.
Dr. Wells, who's a good Canadian actor, by the way. He's like, don't worry, I'll figure out the identity of Arrow. And I turned to Anne, it's like, it's really not that difficult.
Yeah.
Felicity shows up in town with one guy at the coffee shop with her, Oliver Queen. How hard is it gonna be to figure out, oh, Oliver Queen's Arrow? I mean, it's not that difficult. Anyway, what
All
else
right.
are in there?
It's Steven asks, since Captain Boomerang is now cellmates with Slade, do you think Slade will make his own team of villains and break out?
Wouldn't that be great? If it's Steve, it's like, is it Steven? Is it Stephen Amell saying that? Hey, it's
Sure.
Steven.
No,
Sure.
Stephen
Stephen
Romero.
Amell is asking us what they should do about Captain Boomerang. Look, the dude who played Asher, I don't know the actor's name off the top of my head. The guy who played Captain America. The guy who played Captain Boomerang in tonight's episode, he played Asher in Spartacus. He is a great actor. He's really good. Whenever I see him pop up and stuff, I'm just always impressed by him. He was awesome in Spartacus. I think it would be a waste just to have him pop up. Look, he's obviously a super badass. So put him in, and they could have put him anywhere. They could have said A.R.G.U.S took him in. They could have done anything, but they went out of their way to say, we dropped him in with Slade Wilson.
Wasn't there an article that said that Manu Bennett's going to show up towards the end of the season?
I have not heard that.
Okay, I
Yeah,
wasn't
that
sure.
was.
That doesn't
recent.
mean the article doesn't exist. I'm just saying I haven't heard it.
I'm not sure, but.
All right, what else we got?
Nadia21092 asked, they finally introduced the fact that Oliver Queen has a kid. What will Oliver do or change when he learns this?
That's a great question.
Got to get a job, pay that child support. I don't know.
Maybe more visits.
6 years of back child support. He owes a lot.
I mean, they planted seeds for Barry to come visit Starling City with, the mannequin thing, and then they planted that seed with the baby being in Central City, so shows that Oliver will probably be going back to Central City.
I
That's what
got a
think
feeling they're probably not going to pull on this string for at least a few more episodes. Maybe not even for the rest of the season.
I don't know.
But I think at some point it's going to be the girl now thinking, you know what, running into Oliver, blah, blah, I need to reach out to Oliver and say, I don't know, maybe he'll find something. Maybe Slade will get out and say, I know something about your kid, or something like that. I don't know. That was a terrible Slade Wilson, by the way.
It's pretty
That was
good,
awful.
actually.
All right, what else we got?
Well, going off of that, do you think we'll see an appearance of his kid in this season?
I doubt it'll be this season, but it's totally possible.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
we might see appearance of his kid on The Flash,
Well, for sure, yeah.
right? But not
Mama
maybe
over
not
there.
on Arrow.
I'm not so sure he'll. I think they're done with their crossovers this season, so I don't think you're going to see Oliver's kid on the Flash at this point.
All right, so Aflac Crispin asks, will Roy lose his arm and get a mechanical arm like in the comics?
I kept thinking that. I kept thinking, when is this guy going to lose his arm? Because I think he will lose his arm at some point. He's not, the best fighter, so I think something's going to trigger his arm getting lost, and he's going to become just crazy.
I don't know that they're going to go there at all. Remember, this show and Flash do things way differently than the comic books. And this is the show. This isn't the comic books. Just because it's in the comic doesn't mean that's what they have to do in the show. And in this world, from what I'm seeing so far, in this world that they live in, there is no technology to just give a dude a robotic arm that he can run around and fight with that we've seen at this point. Maybe Star Labs, maybe, but we haven't even seen them do that sort of stuff yet. So it seems, it's certainly not a never situation, but it seems like it would be something far-fetched for them to do at this point with as far as what, as a TV show, they're setting their parameters for what is realistic. I mean, it's a show about a superhero who runs around and all that kind of stuff. So you have a different definition of realistic than, any other show. But you still have your own boundaries of what you're going to consider realistic. And it feels like that would be outside of what Arrow has set up as their realistic limits. I don't know, but do you guys think something different?
No, I agree. I think, with Arrow, it's a slow burn in terms of their reveal for characters. Like, we didn't really even see Roy become this until this season. That's 3 seasons later that we're finally seeing Red Arrow and him being referred to that.
Yeah.
So I think even if they wanted to make that connection with the comic book, it wouldn't happen for another few seasons. It's just not necessary right now. I don't
It would
see
be
why
cool,
they
though.
would want to.
Would be kind of cool.
It's a crazy Easter egg to pull off now.
Yeah. All right, let's take a couple more.
Michael LaGrange asked, did you hear, this is actually going off of what Corey just said, the news about, did you hear that Slade Wilson will be back in episode 14? So I guess that's what the
Boom.
reports are saying.
Like I said, I have not heard that report. So guys, if you can tweet me at John Campea. Just tweet to me a link to where you're seeing that and who is claiming it. Because if that's true, that's really cool. If that's true. I just, like I said, I just have not heard of that myself yet at this point.
All right, so Johnny Navarro is asking, how do you think Dr. Wells found out Oliver was the Arrow? Do you think his computer told him?
I think he just saw that, oh, look, there's Felicity, and she's hanging out in a coffee shop with a guy that she showed up in town with. She also showed up in town with Arrow. That's Arrow. It was the simplest thing in the world.
That's the most reasonable explanation, but the first thought that crossed my mind was, he's from the future. That's how he knows. He probably knows what Oliver Queen is doing like 10 years later, so that's how he knew.
He probably asked that computer, but he didn't need to ask the computer.
No, he really
it's
didn't.
not that hard.
I mean, like Steven said, like everybody knows his identity at this point. Who doesn't know
Yeah.
who he is?
And here's some security footage from the last Arrow sighting. And look, there's that dude with no mask on with him. And look, he's here in town too, hanging out with Oliver Queen. Not needing Sherlock Holmes to put these pieces of the puzzle together, ladies and
Poor
gentlemen.
Dr.
Poor Detective Lance still does not freaking know. And
That
he
his
doesn't
daughter's
know
dead.
that Sarah's
That
dead.
sucks.
This poor guy.
Yeah,
I
that
know.
poor guy.
And poor new haircut. Don't like the haircut at all. Yes, it is. It's a bad haircut. They made him get a bad haircut. I'm not going to apologize for
I
that.
didn't even
like it.
notice the haircut, but okay.
I mean, it's a
Okay,
shame.
last question.
All right. The question I had was about Laurel. Can they do a Laurel Lance character, like build her up like they have done with Roy? Would that be effective?
You know, I've given some thought to this. I think part of the problem with Laurel, which by the way, I've been telling friends of mine this online and everything too. Some people misinterpret my dislike of the character Laurel for a dislike of the actress Katie Cassidy. And I actually think she's a pretty darn good actress. I really do. I don't think Meryl Streep could make that character work with how badly the writers in the show, as good as the writers on this show are, they have completely botched the Laurel character. And I don't think any actress can salvage it. So it is not her fault whatsoever. I actually feel bad for her because I feel like she's been handed this terrible character. But part of the problem is that they've totally ruined, they've got this ruined character. Could you salvage the character? I believe you can, but you have to be willing to be patient with it and give it time. Pull her out of the spotlight. Have her in a very small role like they've been doing with Roy. It's like, okay, we've been putting Roy in everybody's face. We've been having him dating Thea. We've been having him do all this stuff. You know what? Pull him back. Don't give him many lines. Just have him on camera so people see him, but he's not annoying anybody, blah, blah, and let him grow on people. And it's working because I was one of Roy's biggest critics, right?
Yeah.
And he's starting to grow on me. What you got, scrap this insane plan of making Laurel Canary. Because what you're doing, you're trying to make a wrecked, ruined character Canary, and it's not going to work. You've got to recoil, pull back, and then take a year and a half or another 2 seasons and just slowly fix this character, bring her back to us, let us endear ourselves to her again, and then take a shot at the Canary thing maybe 2 years from now. But right now, the way they're going, I think they're making a mistake. But that's just me.
Do you think it would have worked if we didn't have Sara in the Canary, you know, to be Canary before, to kind of set that precedence for you that she was such a strong Canary to some people that it's hard to live up to what some people thought, you know, Sara Lance
standard.
was. Yeah, it's hard. I mean, do you think if she just never existed as the Canary that this would be an easier transition for the fans to make?
If they also didn't make Laurel such an insufferable character. Maybe. I think there are some people out there who, just because they love Sara, and Sara was one of my favorite characters in the show, but I think there are people out there who don't like the idea of Laurel simply because they loved the Sara character. For me, I love the Sara character, but you know, she's gone. Somebody else could become Canary. My problem is with how badly they've handled the Laurel character up to this point. So for me, it's not Sara, but I think there are people, I think you're nailing it on the head. I think there are people that would be more open to it if it wasn't for the fact that they already love Sara as Canary so much.
No, and it's the same thing for comic book fans who have this expectation of the characters that they read in the comic books. And so, you know, Green Arrow, they could have made him up to be something completely different, but, you know, he's pretty consistent with Oliver Queen, Green Arrow in the comics. The same could be said for Black Canary. We all have this very high expectation of who Canary is, how strong of a character she is in the comic books, and we want to see that in the show too, and we want to see Katie Cassidy be able to be that person in that character.
Well, like, I was never really a fan of the Laurel character from season 1, but in season 1, by the second episode, you saw her kicking ass at the club, and I was like, oh shit.
People keep saying that she did one
Hold
basic
on.
self-defense
Hold
move on a
on.
dude. She was
Hold
not
on.
kicking ass.
She was kicking ass. She kicked those guys' asses. And I was like, oh, great. She's going to become the Black Canary. I don't like this character at all. But if they developed on that and had her grow from that point, I would have been able to see her fill those shoes correctly. But instead, they made her weaker and weaker as the seasons progressed.
And gave her a drug problem.
Yeah, gave her a drug problem.
Yeah.
Then she needed
Made
help
her
from
irrational,
her sister.
made her stupid.
It made her go backwards instead of getting, like, more stronger. So that's why I'm kind of confused about the whole situation.
But I don't want to talk about Laurel
We'll
anymore
see.
because
Yeah.
All right.
I talked enough about Laurel. Let's just take one more so we're not ending on a Laurel note.
All right.
Even though
I don't have a question.
Oh, she didn't have one lined up?
No.
Okay, well then that will be it. Listen, guys, don't forget, we have got Arrow swag to give away here. Couple of season 2.5 comics, a poster, and the complete season 2 DVD set, all signed by Stephen Amell. So make sure you tweet to @theStreamtv, say why the Air After Show is your favorite after show, and a couple of you will be selected, and you'll get your hands on some of this cool stuff that Stephen Amell himself autographed for
Hey,
you guys.
there's already a lot of people tweeting how awesome we are, so that's pretty cool.
Oh, so cute.
So hey, listen, guys, thank you so much for joining us for this episode of the Arrow After Show. Listen, don't forget, make sure that you tweet to us constantly through the week. We do check Twitter. You either tweet to us using the hashtag that you see here or at our various Twitter handles that we're going to tell you about right now. And we're going to start over here on my left. Ann, where can people find you online?
You can find me at Ann Campia, and Corey and I at Team Amazing.
And of course, over on this side, Corey, where can people reach you on Twitter?
You can follow me at KAORIOUS, that's Kaorius, and of course, Team Amazing.
And you, of course, can follow me on Twitter or Facebook or whatever at John Campia. Thanks a lot for joining us for this Arrow of After Show.
Flaro.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of the Arrow After Show, guys. We're really privileged and thankful that you decided to spend some of your time with us and share your fandom with us. We'll be back again next time, so thanks for joining us, and until then, bye-bye.